Hello and warm wishes from London. My name's Justine Simons and I am the Deputy Mayor for Culture and the Creative Industries. Here in London, we're all doing our best to stay working from home and keeping everyone safe, including the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. So here I am joining you from my home in South London at the launch of this fantastic new digital festival by Théâtre du Châtelet to talk about culture in cities, what's happening in big cities and what does the future hold. As well as being the Deputy Mayor, I'm also the Chair of the World Cities Cultural Forum, which is a global network of 40 world cities, leaders from around the world who care about culture in cities, from Shanghai to Tokyo, New York to London, Paris to Amsterdam. The World Cities Cultural Forum is a powerful leadership network. It's deputy mayors and cultural commissioners from big world cities around the world. Now, all cities have been hit very hard by COVID, and we're all at different points in the journey of this pandemic. So there's a great deal that we can learn from each other. And almost every week, we've all been getting together online to share our journeys, to share what we're doing, to learn from each other as we navigate our way through. What has been very clear is that culture has been hit very, very hard by COVID. It was hit first, it's hit hardest, and it's hit very long term. So venues had to close overnight, income completely collapsed. And of course, because so much of culture means all of us coming together into a shared space, social distancing means that for many parts of the cultural world, they can't open for a very long time. Theatres and music venues have been very, very hard hit. So as city leaders, we've been coming together to look at what we can do to support our cultural sector and ensure that it can survive post-COVID. And today I want to share with you 10 of the big themes that have been emerging through our discussions and to think about and explore what the future holds for culture in cities. So we've been talking a lot about data. As the saying goes, in God we trust, everyone else bring data. And capturing data is really essential for culture in cities. We need to know how COVID is having an impact in order to help us do two things: to advocate for culture and also to design our response. And what we're looking at is advocating in quite a difficult environment in world cities because there's lots of priorities and challenges such as public health, transport and food supply. It's also essential to help us design the best response. For example, in London, we've just had some new data in that shows that by the end of the year, we're scheduled to lose 110,000 creative jobs and £14 billion of the creative economy. We've also set up a Culture at Risk office and emergency frontline response team. Again, data is really important. We know how hard very grassroots venues have been hit, so we're designing our response to support very small venues, grassroots music venues, artist studios and independent cinemas. So having good data is really essential for all world cities. Secondly, the rush to digital. We've seen lots of arts and cultural organisations pivot to online. In fact, a great example, of course, is Châtelet's Digital Festival, launching today. It's been really impressive, this shift to digital around the world. Many more audiences have been watching operas and musicals and theatres online. Over in China, in Nanjing, they're giving tours of museums and galleries on TikTok, and in Shanghai, 140 organisations are part of an app, and that offers discounts to encourage consumers to come back into culture. However, moving to digital does bring with it some challenges. Many members of society don't even have access to Wi-Fi. And the other big question is, how do you monetize your content if you're moving it online, especially for artists whose work has to be paid for, and they have been hit extraordinarily hard in COVID. So this rush to digital brings both opportunities and big challenges. We know that COVID does not hit everyone equally. Poorer communities have been hit disproportionately hard by COVID, and emergency relief can often reinforce existing inequality. So in cities, we're working extra hard to ensure that all of our relief packages reach those that are traditionally excluded, so that we don't allow COVID to make inequality worse than it already is. In the midst of this pandemic, we've also seen the horrifying murder of George Floyd in America. His death has galvanised the Black Lives Matter movement all around the world. The public, city leaders, cultural institutions have been responding to the racism which is embedded in our society. And statues have become a lightning rod for this debate. Statues are symbolic and they speak to our values as a society. Many of the Confederate monuments in the US and here in the UK, slave traders' monuments have been torn down. Many cities are looking at how they can tell a more accurate and truthful story of our history. In London, we've announced a commission on diversity in the public realm to seek to address this. So this is a big issue that has emerged in COVID that is defining how cities move forward. The next theme is DIY creativity. One really positive thing about COVID is that many of us have reconnected with our own creativity. We've seen people join virtual choirs, dance classes online. Everyone's been taking up painting and poetry and writing. In Buenos Aires, for example, there is Cultura em Casa, which is Culture at Home Festival. And then in Brasilia, they have a festival of graffiti at home. What's important is to keep that going, keep being creative. As humans, we are creative beings. Creativity is essential for our health and well-being, and this is something that all city leaders want to see continue in a post-COVID world. One big theme is unlocking culture and rebuilding public trust. Exiting lockdown is really front of mind for lots of world cities. We're all finding our way, and what's really important is that we share our models and how we're doing this. We're really aware that there's little margin for error and we have to do our best to get this right. The other thing we've seen, of course, is a drop in public confidence. People are fearful, understandably, of going back into public spaces. So we're trying to understand the long-term impact on people's behaviour and what we can do to rebuild trust. One big theme is cultural tourism. And what we've seen is global tourism completely collapse as international travel has been halted overnight. This, of course, is having a big impact on culture in world cities. In London, we know that 4 out of 5 people come to London because of culture. And in somewhere like Austin, Texas, the tourism tax there is the main income stream for culture. So cities are being hit very hard by the collapse of tourism and specifically cultural tourism. So what is happening is we've gone from global to local, and cities are really focusing their strategies on growing domestic tourism and local tourism as they start to rebuild. And that's the beginning of the journey to restoring global tourism. And building on local tourism, there's a move towards culture on your doorstep, starting with local neighbourhood, supporting local businesses, local high streets as we start to rebuild. Many cities are talking about hyper-local. In Milan, you have Piano City, where you have performances on balconies. And in Buenos Aires, a fantastic programme called Culture Door to Door, where volunteers are taking books from libraries directly to elderly citizens. So there's lots of imaginative ways in which cities are exploring hyper-local culture on your doorstep. One theme that's emerged in COVID is the fragility of the creative labour market. It's thrown into sharp relief the challenging working conditions faced by lots of our artists and creatives. Lots of artists have very short-term contracts, very low pay and job insecurity. And this has been amplified through COVID, and we've seen creatives very, very hard hit. Now, many cities have designed individual grants directly for individuals for the very first time. This is challenging, but it's something that we have to reform, and we have to think post-COVID, how will we reform the working conditions of artists and creatives? Because our creative economies, which bolster our economies in cities, are absolutely underpinned by artists and creative practitioners. So we need to support them if our creative economies in cities are to thrive and survive post-COVID. The final common theme in all our cities is reform in recovery. So all world cities are wanting to build back better post-COVID. What they want to do is rethink, reform and address some of those serious systemic issues that have been uncovered through COVID. We also want to make sure that all our citizens can stay creative, to build on all that DIY creativity and that flourishing that we've seen in COVID. Because culture is the essential ingredient in all world cities, and we want to see it thrive. Culture brings us joy as individuals, it brings us together as citizens, and also it's the story we tell around the world about our cities. It's our identity, our DNA, if you will. It contributes to our health and well-being, and also to the economy. It brings in lots of jobs and growth, and of course the tourism potential is huge. So for all of these reasons and many more, we are absolutely committed to culture in world cities, and we'll continue championing it until the end of time. So thank you so much for inviting me here today, and enjoy the rest of the festival.
Hi Ruth, thank you for giving me the possibility to send you this small video. First I want to congratulate you with the digital festival of Théâtre de Châtelet. And it's kind of unusual to talk with each other, because normally it is a moment that you meet other people, and we have the same thing. This COVID-19 divided us, but it brings also new possibilities, and I think in Paris you're experiencing maybe the same thing. So what we did in Amsterdam is from the moment people were locked in, new things also happened, and a few things were very important. I think that everyone should be connected, and what we did is just to give the people devices who didn't have any, because we had like 3,500 laptops, and we gave them to people in different areas who didn't have any connection with Wi-Fi, who didn't have any laptops. And I think that we were talking about last year, we talked a lot when I was in Paris with all these cultural organizations, we were talking about inclusion. Well, it was the big moment that we could make this difference and give the people laptops so they were connected to the world. Another thing that we did for the artists is that artists can always relate to new situations. Of course, they have a lot of big problems because they couldn't do their work anymore, but they can also react on the new situation that's starting during COVID. So all these artists had beautiful plans and new art forms that were born during this COVID. And what we could do as a city, as we started a fast desk that they could send in their new plans, and in 5 days they could get the funding, so they could show us their new works to Amsterdam. But also they did it online, so all kinds of new digital art forms that were born during this COVID period. So Ruth, that's one of there's two things that we did, but we did a lot more. But of course, I would like to tell you that when we see each other live, because I'm missing Paris and I miss you, of course. So I wish you success with the festival, and hopefully Paris is going to be open again like Amsterdam, so people can go from one way to another and we can see each other again. Good luck and have fun, and enjoy your digital festival in Théâtre du Châtelet. Bye bye.
Greetings, I am Enrique Abogadro, Cultural Minister of the City of Buenos Aires, and today I want to share two initiatives that we launched through these COVID times. One of them is called Cultura en Casa, or Culture at Home, and it's basically a new platform where we are able to access every single day to a new offer in terms of arts and culture. We are able to access to movies, theater presentations, virtual visits to museums. We have also a special area for kids and another area dedicated to learning through arts and culture new activities. And it has been really a success. More than 6 million people access this platform since we launched it at the beginning of this pandemic. Another initiative is called Libros Puerta a Puerta, or Books Door to Door, where we are delivering books from the network of public libraries of the City of Buenos Aires to senior citizens at their own home. So we have a special delivery service where we are every single day going around town, delivering books, and really making it possible for people who are alone to be connected through culture. Regarding the future, we have new challenges, and we are convinced that cultural public policy is more important than ever in terms of building bridges, in terms of understanding that culture is a tool for development, and in that way, understanding that we can build a new citizenship through culture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justine, for you and all your deputy mayors and directors of culture from the World Cultural Cities, for sharing with us some of the extremely interesting ideas and initiatives that you have developed together. For example, in London, of course, you talked about your new Diversity Commission, which is a response to the recent protests for Black Lives Matter. Here in Paris, it's a little bit more complicated, and we have several points of view about the ways we can rewrite history, whether we should be taking down statues, renaming streets and places. But it would be interesting to hear your advice to the people of Paris about what London can recommend here.
I would say it's not a question of rewriting history, but really just telling the truth, telling a full, holistic story, you know, of all the problematic things as well as all the great things in our history. And that's what we really don't have in our public realm in London. You know, if you look around at the statues, they really are a mirror of Victorian Britain. And so Sadiq Khan and I have set up a new commission. It's called the Commission on Diversity in the Public Realm. And really it's to start a conversation about who we need to celebrate, what legacies are missing from our public realm, you know, to tell that more accurate story of who we are and to express our values as a city.
The World Cultural Cities have already shared some fascinating new ideas for new projects and new ways to meet the needs of your citizens and of your artists and creatives. Do you have a particular favourite that you'd like to share with us now?
I would say it's hard to think of a favourite idea. But one idea I love is what has been happening in Austin, Texas. So lots of people have been commissioning artists to make artworks for their gardens, so signage and things that they can place in their front garden to give them joy as they are staying in quarantine, and also for the local neighbourhood to enjoy artworks on the streets. So it's kind of an antidote to digital. It's going back to analogue art and back to this idea of creativity on your doorstep. And I think it's a really beautiful idea.
I know, Justine, that you have always put education at the heart of your work in London for serving the citizens of London with an artistic programme. What have you learnt during the lockdown of new ways, of more effective ways in which artists and creatives can support families and young people to learn more and better?
I think what we've seen in COVID is people reconnecting with their own creativity, and what's super important is that that continues, that we hold on to that creative experience and we grow and we explore our own creativity in whatever way that might mean. And that also means embedding it in education, because, you know, as well as the health and well-being aspects of getting creative, of course for young people it gives you all lots and lots of other things. You know, it gives you confidence, lateral thinking skills, an ability to work in a team, all of the skills that you need actually in business today. So having a creative education and exploring your own creativity has myriad benefits, and that's one of the things that I really think needs to be centre stage as we move forward post-COVID. So thank you very much. I've been delighted to join you for the very first digital festival by Théâtre du Châtelet, and I want to wish you all good wishes for the rest of the programme.